Bitcoin is officially in a bear market. At least it's what Jordy Visser says.
First of all, it's in a bear market. I'm going to say it every single day until it's not in a bear market. When we break above the 200-day moving average, it will change. Until that happens, it is a bear market.
And honestly, he might be right. Bitcoin has no energy, no momentum, but that may not be the reason, according to Brian Armstrong. I've got some ideas. Retail is gone. The tourists are chasing AI stocks. Semiconductors are sucking in money at record speeds. And our president is using taxpayer dollars to fund stuff that he has no idea about.
The second order I'm signing directs federal agency to transition to what is called quantum cryptography. Do anybody know what that is?
Seriously, I think the reason is much bigger than what Jordy Visser and Brian Armstrong are talking about. Because while many are saying that Bitcoin looks dead, the rest of the financial system is on its last limb. What's happening today isn't normal. It's what a broken money system looks like. Today, we're going to connect the dots from Brian Armstrong to Alan Greenspan, to broken cities raising taxes, and why Bitcoin may be the last life raft left hiding in plain sight. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go.
Has no energy because it is a vehicle meant for two things. One is for people to hide their money from the government, but that is always going to be a small portion of it because the wealthiest people on the planet, which is where it draws its money from, aren't hiding their money from anyone at this point because they're not taking it. On the other side is the energy that comes from retail and the energy that comes from momentum. It has no momentum right now.
You know why Bitcoin has no momentum? It's because sometimes people have to learn the hard way that one of the worst ways to make wealth is to chase the crazy stocks that are exploding right now from the hype trends. Like SpaceX. SpaceX has now lost more than $1 trillion in value after hitting its $3 trillion valuation last week. Everyone thinks they can get rich quick or like they have insider knowledge. Like our politicians, like Ro Khanna, who, when going into office in the 2016-2017 range, had a net worth of about 30 million, and now it's several hundred million. Retail investors are just trying to be like their favorite politicians who make $200K a year in income. And we can see it. They're plowing into sectors like semiconductors at the fastest pace that we've ever seen. The AI mania is so crazy that Google, a multi-trillion-dollar company, lost $300 billion in market cap because one of its AI employees left yesterday. And although he believes that this time is going to pass, this is the reason why Brian Armstrong thinks that Bitcoin is in a bear market.
It's never as bad as it seems with these things. You've got to take a long-term perspective. And I think over the last few quarters, the reason that Bitcoin has been down, everyone's been kind of trying to figure that out. I think it's a few things, right? I think AI absorbed a lot of the risk capital. It's kind of hard to imagine people talking about anything else at the moment besides AI. And so that's moved over. And then people got really excited about stablecoins because the Genius Act passed and we had some regulatory clarity. And so stablecoins kind of became the new meta, and maybe, Bitcoin with its inflation type trade that people have done in the past got a little less exciting in this environment where it felt like, okay, maybe we're going to grow our way out of this and the inflation won't be so bad. Now, I think these are all short-term effects. I think Bitcoin is the new digital gold. I think it's going to be a key part of our economy going forward into the future. So I'm as bullish as ever. I think sometimes people look at these 4-year cycles that Bitcoin goes through as well, where you can kind of see the percentage of people who have made money versus not. And my instinct is we probably have bottomed at this point, maybe at the 60K number, but nobody can say for sure, of course. I'm optimistic as always. I think by 2030, we're going to have a much higher price, and I'm long Bitcoin, just like always.
Like him, I'm thinking long-term because of the structural issues in our economy. We are living through a completely broken system. There were false promises made about retirement, about the American dream, that has the very people at the top, which, no offense, don't take offense to this because I know that there are some people in this age demographic that watch our show. It is the boomers who are saying to the rest of us, too bad, we worked hard for this. We deserve this. And right now, they're dumping their wealth at the time when the rest of us need it the most. 89% of senior citizens support raising taxes on younger generations. The median age of the primary voter is 65. They run the country, and they have the most wealth. The baby boomers have $90 trillion in wealth. They own 70% of the stocks and half of the real estate in America. And right now, they have to fund their retirement, on top of the Social Security benefits that they're going to get that the rest of us will not. So what happens when they start selling their assets? The system cannot function. They have to take from a certain group of people to give to another one. And you can see this very clearly when you start to see failed states in the greatest country in the world, States like Illinois, who can't even keep their crown jewel within their own state. They just lost the Chicago Bears to Hammond, Indiana. And for those of you who are not from Indiana, Hammond, Indiana is not a destination location. It's one of the places that Will Ferrell actually said in semi-pro that he wanted to start his team. So there will be a professional team for all you jive turkeys out there in Hammond, Indiana. Illinois is an example of a failed state. They have the second highest taxes of any place in America. And taxes is actually the number one reason why anyone says that they would leave the state. Just in front of the economy, state governments, and housing, which is all unaffordable and rising quickly. Politicians just passed the largest spending bill ever in the state at $56 billion, and yet the deficit continues to grow. So much so that they have to raise taxes on the tolls.
Anyone who drives in the Chicago area likely jumps on one of the Illinois tollways at some point.
I try to avoid them, you know what I mean? But if I got to get somewhere and it's like 10 minutes quicker, I'll just take the toll.
But that toll could cost Shamari Dyson and thousands of drivers an extra 45 cents more if the Illinois Tollway Board gets its wish.
It's ridiculous. I'm constantly getting tolls, charged as refills on my bank account when my iPass goes through. So I can imagine it's just going to happen more and more often.
Currently, tolls run as low as 30 cents and as high as $1.50 at various plazas. This proposed hike could place the average toll well over $1 every time drivers pass through an automatic toll plaza.
I like to know where my money's going, and the 294 has been under construction for the last 15 years, and that is frustrating.
If you've ever driven on I-90 or I-94 heading into Illinois from Indiana, you understand that you hit a toll every 3 miles. And yet, the city cannot fund itself. Look at the schools. Look at the economic development. Look at the crime rate. And now, the Hammond Bears. You can always tell that the system has failed when extenuating measures that were used as emergencies become the norm. Like when they started the toll road system back in the 1970s. They said that eventually they would earn enough revenue and enough funds that the roads would be free in about 50 years. Well, 50 years has passed. And $26 billion later, and they're even raising the taxes. And on top of that, J.B. Pritzker just signed a 0.2% bill that will tax all of crypto movement in their economy whatsoever. Not selling it, not capital gains, just moving the value of your crypto will get taxed. And this is why we Bitcoin. One of the original biggest influencers in the founding of Bitcoin just passed away. But before we get to him and recognizing what he did in order to help to start Bitcoin, well, let's thank our sponsors. If you know that the state is failing, why would you want to sell the life raft? Why would you want to sell your insurance policy at the moment when you're going to need it the most in the future? You're going to wish that you hadn't. And with Ledn, you don't have to pick between those two evils. You can keep your Bitcoin or your sovereign asset, but not sell it and not pay any capital gains and taxes. Borrow against your Bitcoin stack. Fiat can be in your account in less than 6 hours, and your Bitcoin is never rehypothecated, resold, or lent out to other people. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply to get started or use the link in the description. Also, one of the things that is a marker of a failed state is when they begin to confiscate assets. It usually presents itself in the form of taxes, but it can move to a state of outright theft, where they take your assets and call it property, their property. Well, you can avoid that future by becoming a digital nomad, and you can do that with Bitcoin. But learn from the experts of how to become a sovereign digital nomad from the Bitcoin way. Members of their team will teach you exactly how to stack your own Bitcoin, how to do it so privately, how to send your own transactions so that even the state of Illinois wouldn't be able to tax you because you're going to do it privately. Schedule a free meeting with the team at thebitcoinway.com/partner/Dante-Cook. They'll hook you up. I want to take a moment to recognize Alan Greenspan, who lived a long and a great life and passed away at 100 years old. And first of all, I want to make sure before I get into any of these comments, you understand that anybody that does anything publicly is going to get criticized. And so, yes, this is a show about Bitcoin. So I'm going to talk about one of the reasons why Alan Greenspan was actually one of the biggest influences in the history of Bitcoin. But let's talk about him generally. He ran the Federal Reserve for 18 and a half years. He served under 4 presidents, Reagan, Clinton, and both of the Bushes. They called him the maestro because they believed that he single-handedly as one man could steer the economy. We all know that that's not true. But one thing that he did, even though he implemented some of the greatest failed policies in 3 of the biggest economic crashes in the country between 1987 with Black Monday, 2000 with the dot-com bubble, and 2006 where his policies single-handedly, in my opinion, led to the great financial crisis, he did have one of the things that I think stood out with Alan Greenspan is he was always truthful. He was always vulnerable, and he was always open with what they were thinking and what they were doing. And he actually was the first person to admit that all of the tools that they have to control the money, control the economy, to control inflation, well, they didn't actually work. Listen to this interview between him and Ron Paul from back in the day.
Good morning, Mr. Greenspan. I understand that you did not take my friendly advice last fall. I thought maybe you should look for other employment, but I see you kept your job. I'm pleased that you're back, though, because at least you remember the days of sound money, and you have some respect for it. And even though you do describe it as nostalgia, still you do remember the days of sound money. So I'm pleased to have you here. And of course, my concern for your welfare is that you might have to withstand some pummeling this coming year or two when the correction comes, because of all the inflation that we have undergone here in the last several years. And for 3 years, you've never been once in the target range. You know, if I set my targets and I perform like that as a physician, my patient would die. I mean, this would be big trouble in medicine, but here it doesn't seem to bother anybody. And if you extrapolate and looked at the targets set in 1997 and carried that set of targets all the way out, you only missed M3 by $690 billion. I mean, just a small amount of extra money that came into circulation, but I think it's harmful. I know Wall Street likes it, and the economy likes it when the bubble's getting bigger, but my concern is what's going to happen when this bursts.
Our problem is not that we do not believe in sound money. We do. We very much believe that if you have a debased currency, that you will have a debased economy. The difficulty is in defining what part of our liquidity structure is truly money. We've had trouble ferreting out proxies for that for a number of years, and the standard we employ is whether it gives us a good forward indicator of the direction of finance and the economy. Regrettably, none of those which we've been able to develop, including MZM, has not done that. That does not mean that we think that money is irrelevant. It means that we think our measures of money have been inadequate. And as a consequence of that, we, as I've mentioned previously, have downgraded the use of the monetary aggregates for monetary policy purposes until we are able to find a more stable proxy for what we believe is the underlying money in the economy.
So it's hard to manage something you can't define.
It is not possible to manage something you can't define.
He's famous for admitting that the United States can never default because it can just print the money.
The United States can pay any debt it has because we can always print money to do that. So there is zero probability of default.
And although he is famous for the Greenspan put, meaning that the banks are too big to fail, he admitted that he was wrong. In 2008, he said that he should never have trusted the banks to protect their shareholders, and he never should have bailed them out. But let's not get on Alan Greenspan. I don't want people kicking my grave when I'm dead and I'm gone. I want people praising the good things that he did. And to defend Alan Greenspan, I say that he is not a product of bad policy that he implemented. He was trying to protect and defend a system that doesn't work fundamentally. And he is one of the reasons why, after the great financial crisis, Bitcoin was created. No bailouts, no politicians, no policy from one single person or one single administration being able to control the flow of money and whether people can save in assets or not. In the end, Alan Greenspan agreed with the premise of Bitcoin, saying that Bitcoin will never go negative because of the dynamics of the financial system that we live in. There will be an unlimited supply of money going against a finite supply of Bitcoin. Once people truly understand what Bitcoin is, they're going to understand Bitcoin in such a way that their eyes are going to be open for the first time. Sort of like this young lad trying out some cake in America the first time when he visited for the World Cup.
It's nice. Who made this? Chef. Where's Chef? In the kitchen. Why? Tell him. Tell him what? This thing is lovely.
This thing is lovely. This Bitcoin thing. No manipulators, no policies, no rulers, no people backdooring and getting inside information. Just an open, trustless, borderless, digital, monetary, global system. This is lovely. And thanks to Alan and the system of others that people created, we get to invest in this sort of asset class. We get to invest in hope for the future, not just kicking the can down to our kids and future generations and saying, you get to hold the bag. Bitcoin is a lifeboat, and so you should protect it. You should treat it as such, as a way of escaping the current system. But also, when you tie your lifeboat and your life vest to the risky leverage system, well, there can be bad consequences. Do not risk your guaranteed safety in the lifeboat with the risk of the current system, chasing AI stocks, chasing fast and quick money like a politician, or putting your money in your system and trust into a failed state. Illinois is just the first state, but it will not be the last. And that's why even during these bear markets, we say stay calm and stack on. Don't just stack by buying Bitcoin, stack in a multitude of ways. Like getting into Bitcoin mining where you can earn sats while you sleep. Work with a company like SAS Mining. You give them your money, they give you a Bitcoin mining rig. They set up the contracts, the electricity, they repair it, and they just send you sats straight to your wallet. And one of the ways you can continually stack, if you're not stacking Bitcoin with extra discretionary funds, you can stack knowledge. One of the ways you can do that is by subscribing to the channel. We drop knowledge like this 7 days a week with a bunch of different personalities, people's perspectives. We give you the real knowledge and the real alpha. And honestly, a reprieve and a relief at the end of your day that you can sit back, have someone tell you the real of what's going on that you can actually enjoy in a fun and intuitive way. This is Simply Bitcoin. And this is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.